What is up, guys? Rickhackis here, going over the best weapon I have found in the division so far, the First Wave Vector 45 ACP. Now, a very small amount of you watching this video may have weapons better than what I'm showcasing today, and that's fine. The reason I want to present you guys with this weapon is because it has just consistently surpassed my expectations. I have been always impressed by the performance of this gun, so I wanted to showcase it to you guys because I think most of you should definitely be looking out for these Vector variants. And remember, that's an important factor. The First Wave Vector 45 ACP is the best version of the Vector that I have gotten. You don't have to be looking for this specific variant. You don't have to get another First Wave Vector 45 ACP. You can get just a Vector 45, you can get a black market Vector. As long as you get a Vector variant, it'll have relatively the same stats. Now, why do I like the Vector? Well, let's go over its stats. The Vector has surprisingly high damage, especially for its rate of fire. My Vector, even when I've taken off all attachments, still does over 8,000 damage. And remember, your damage numbers may be different depending on your firearm's skill level. Now, this compared to other SMGs I have that have a much lower rate of fires even in the 600, 500s, still do less damage than my Vector with a higher rate of fire. So the Vector is going to be doing more damage and shooting relatively faster. 750 rounds per minute is more than enough to handle most close quarters scenarios. So it does more damage and shoots faster than most other SMGs. So what's the catch? Well, simply put, the catch is definitely in the magazine size. The Vectors that I've found come with a native magazine size of only 20. Now, this is very important because magazine size is actually taken into account when calculating the damage per second. So this is very important. The actual damage per second from a second to second basis, let's say over 5 seconds, for a Vector is going to be higher than a lot of SMGs, even though in the game it may display the Vector's damage per second as lower. And again, the reason being is because damage per second in the game is calculated over a longer period of time, so it takes magazine size into account. So when you're looking at, for example, I got an SMG that had lower damage and lower rate of fire than my Vector, but it's still displayed as doing more damage per second, and the only reason was because of it had a higher magazine size natively of like 36. So be aware of this. What I'm saying is that the Vector is going to be doing even more damage than the game is saying. But here is the main thing about the Vector. So we went over that it has a ton of damage, it has a great rate of fire, and its only downside is a very small magazine size. So again, one downside. But the attachments, when you get to around level 30, the purple magazine attachments can have upwards of 82% magazine size increases. You can easily find a purple magazine attachment that has 70-80% magazine increases. So that changes everything. My Vector went from, again, just 20 rounds to 36. And 36, it isn't spectacular, but it's more than enough. So because of the substantial magazine size increases that comes with the purple magazine attachments, you're taking away the one downside of the Vector, in which case the gun just becomes all around amazing. So I think I've made a pretty good case for why the Vector is an amazing gun in the division. But let's go over now some attachments I would recommend that you put on once you finally get your Vector 45 ACP. Firstly, let's start with magazine. I mentioned that, magazine takes away the one downside of this gun, and that is very true. In fact, your Vector won't actually be that amazing in performance until you get a good purple magazine attachment that does increase the magazine size substantially. So maybe hold off into going all in into a Vector before you get that magazine. You're gonna need it. However, they're pretty easy to find, especially in the dark zone where everything and anything is dropping purples once you get to level 30. Now, aside from increasing the magazine size, I would also recommend that for your magazine attachment, try to get one that doesn't increase rate of fire. Now, I know that might sound a little crazy, but the reason is because the Vector has a very fair rate of fire of 750 rounds per minute. That is more than enough. So increasing the rate of fire at that point is simply going to make your gun more inaccurate. You know, you can do harm to your gun by increasing that rate of fire. Yes, it does increase the damage output, but when you're trying to shoot anything at, medium range and your gun starts recoiling up above the target and you start missing, that's going to substantially lower your damage per second. So just be aware of this. I think 750 rounds per minute is more than enough, and I think that raising the rate of fire will only increase the inaccuracy of this gun. Now, aside from that, the other attachments are pretty much up to you. I would recommend for the underbarrel attachment really trying to increase accuracy, because when you're using an SMG, you do need that accuracy, especially at those longer range engagements. Otherwise, you're just going to be kind of shooting beside the target. Other than that, go for damage. Now, you can actually get pretty much all your attachments to focus on damage output. Even the barrel attachment. Most barrel attachments, like silencers, are going to just do reduce threat and reduce some sort of stability or accuracy bonus. But you actually can find some. In fact, I was using a muzzle brake that increased the critical hit chance. So that's just going to add to your damage per second. So you do want to look for something like that. Something that increases accuracy and critical hit chance, which is what I have, is the God Roll. Now, aside from that, your optics. At this point, you really don't need any more substantial accuracy increases. The Vector is pretty accurate all on its own. So for the sights, you can get, I have enhanced iron sights, and enhanced iron sights will pretty much always increase some sort of damage aspect. Something that increases headshot damage is perfect. Remember, headshot damage is not critical damage. Critical damage is the orange numbers that pop up, and you can get them whether you're shooting, the leg or the head. Headshot damage is just going to be the red numbers that pop up every time you hit an enemy in the head. You're going to be getting those a lot. So getting like a 16% damage bonus from just putting on sights, that is going to do wonders for your damage output. Now, if you're watching this video and thinking, well, I would love a Vector, but I'm extremely unlucky and all I keep getting are M60s over and over again. Well, you can actually go and buy your own high-end gold Vector 45 ACP. All you need to do is head up to your tech wing and then look to the left, and there will be a special gear vendor. He is the vendor that accepts Phoenix credits. And because everyone seems to be confused about Phoenix credits are unlocked at level 30. They are an endgame currency that you spend on this particular vendor and one more in the dark zone. And how you get them is by doing daily missions, challenge missions, and by killing bosses. In any event, this special gear vendor in your base of operations is going to be selling a high-end Vector 45 ACP blueprint. And I have a squad mate who did buy this blueprint and says that it is absolutely incredible, and in fact, his Vector is better than mine. Now that's it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed and learned something helpful. Now if you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and sharing this video. Now if you enjoyed this content and want to see more Division content from me, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter. That's linked in the description down below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can also follow. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.